Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Okay, you ready to move on to the Commanders?
Sure.
Okay, let's move on to the Commanders. Last year, they finished 12-5. They lost to the Eagles in the championship game, which should have been the Lions, but we won't talk about
I
that.
was I was shocked the Lions lost that game. I really was. Yeah.
Well, it was funny because when we were predicting the playoffs, I said they had 13 guys on the defensive side of IR, and I'm like, they're going to lose to somebody. I don't think
Yep.
they'll get to the Super Bowl this year. Their defense is beat up. I didn't think it'd be the Commanders, but good for the Commanders.
Yep.
Offensively, they were seventh last year. They were 17th in passing and third in rushing. And then defensively, they were 18th in scoring defense. So, favorite move they made?
I went with Laramie Tunsil on that
Yeah.
one. I think it's always important to protect your franchise quarterback. So out of all the stuff they did, I know they did a lot of re-signings. It was all like short-term stuff and trying to bolster their roster. But yeah, I went with Tunsil. I think it's, as we were talking with the Eagles, it's always important to have a good offensive line. And that guy, it's funny, as good as he has been, how much he's bounced around,
I agree.
the last
Yeah.
couple of years. So
Yeah, agree with that. I did like that move too, and I just put because again, I always write two down just in case like me and the co-hosts have
yeah,
the same one. I put Samuel. I do like they got Debo Samuel just because with a young quarterback, I like when teams set them up so that they can't fail, so to speak. Like you give them every reason to succeed, and if they don't succeed, it's on them, basically.
yeah,
So getting him another weapon, somebody who's can get open very quickly. We know what Samuel can do when healthy and when the ball is in his hands. Like short slant routes, yada yada. And getting that offensive line fix was part of it. They really set up Daniels to not have hopefully not have a too big of a sophomore slump. They got
yeah.
him weapons and protection, and I like that they did that.
Yeah, you don't want your young quarterback. You see that in the league. It's like, well, this guy's terrible. And it's like, well, who's he throwing to? His offensive line. You look at Caleb Williams last year. He got sacked so much
So much.
there. So
Yeah.
got to protect him.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Let's least favorite move. What was the least favorite move they made this
Yeah.
offseason for you?
So the Commanders, for me, I guess, kind of made this one easy. We're still sitting there on Terry McLaurin. I guess it's not a move one way or another yet, but the fact that they haven't moved ahead and signed him, got it done. I think that was the least favorite because for that team, that's been the story all offseason, and you don't want a negative story to be your main deal. I get he's older and they don't want to have to put a bunch of money in an older guy, but he is kind of their offense. I know they got, like you said, Debo in there, and I think he'll help. But McLaurin, he had a couple really big plays in the playoffs for him. So I think having him there, getting him prepared, he was the captain on that team. So I think not having him there, it was kind of the least favorite thing they've done for me.
Yeah, and it's not again, it's doing kind of the opposite of what I like that they did, bringing in people like,
Yeah,
so it doesn't really work hand in hand. I think he'll end up playing. Usually they always do.
yeah,
But yeah, they got to figure that out. Um, I had Kinlaw's contract, the defensive lineman, they kind of overpaid for him.
mm,
So that was like a least favorite on top of losing both Allen and Flower.
hours.
Yeah, Flowers. It's just they had a pretty good defensive line last year, and they were 11th in sacks and 8th in pressure rate, and they kind of just let two of their defensive linemen go, signed a guy kind of too much. Surprised they wouldn't have spent that money on guys they actually, knew that works in their system. But so with that and with that signing and losing the two defensive linemen, I just didn't like that move.
Yeah, their choices on defensive line have been crazy because I think
Mhm.
it's been 2 years now. They let Sweat go. He went to the Bears, and then they let Chase Young too, which I don't think he quite lived up to his
Hype.
height.
Yeah.
But still, like they let both those guys go, and then let two more guys go again. It's like that's kind of important. Yeah, you want a D line where Philly is just keeping their solid. So tough to contend when you don't got good pass rushers.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Biggest green flag for them going into the season.
I had to go with Jaden Daniels on
Yeah.
that. We'll see about sophomore slump, but I mean, he really brought that team into contention last year. And, some quarterbacks do, some quarterbacks don't have that slump, and they're just really good every year. So, yeah, green flag. I think with him there, if you don't have a quarterback, your team's going to struggle. So they've got a pretty good one. So, yeah, green flag there. I
Oh
think they're
yeah.
going to always contend with him.
Yeah, nailed it, nailed it. Yeah, that's what I had as well. The building around him, the offensive line moves again with the receiver, and I like that they did kind of like short deals with a lot of these players because the next offseason they can kind of see where they're at with him, and so
Yeah.
they're not committing to being like, okay, this is what he needs. So let's spend a lot of money here, here, here. They're like, let's see one more year. I kind
Hmm.
of like sort of the patient process of that, so
Good
that
point.
they keep
Yeah.
the flexibility moving forward. But yeah, yeah, I really liked what they have going into the season with Daniels. Biggest red flag.
So to me, it would be their roster. I was kind of doing research for this and saw that they are the oldest roster in the NFL, which,
Okay.
yeah, hadn't realized. I knew they had a lot of like older players, like their offensive guys. You got Eckler is up there, Debo's getting up there, McLaurin's up there, even Zach Ertz. He played really well last year, but he's going to be 34. So yeah, definitely red flag there is just the age on that team being the oldest. Yeah, we were talking about the Eagles here. They've got, one of the youngest teams, youngest defense, and then you got this team over here that, the veteran present is good, but they're pretty old.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. That's not. There's a balance. You need a balance, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's not great. I put the retooling of the defensive line. I don't know if it will work or not, but the fact that they just 11th in sack, 8th in pressure rate. Um, it's not great. And then their offensive line, I wrote down second most sacks in the league. So they allowed the second most sacks in the league. So they did address it, but we won't
yeah,
know that it's totally fixed because they really only brought in Tunsil, and I thought there was one more guy they brought in. Let me just look. It's Tunsil, and they drafted that Josh Con Connerly. Connerly? The offensive lineman. So my point is like we won't know if that works, but their offensive line could maybe used a little more attention because
yeah.
of allowing the second most sacks, and then
Mhm.
also their defensive line. They I think I like I don't know. I just don't think they should have retooled that spot for how
Yeah.
good it was last year.
Hmm.
Getting to the quarterback.
Yeah. And I had on there, I almost forgot about it until I looked at my notes again. They did bring in Von Miller, which he signed that massive contract in
Hmm.
Buffalo and just did absolutely nothing once he got there. And I mean, adding him, I don't think helped their average age too much, but I don't think that's going to be a very big, he doesn't play a lot of snaps. And yeah, so that defensive line, say what they brought in to do it, I don't think is going to help a lot.
Yeah, they gotta kind of treat him, I think, like late year Cameron Wake, where it's like you just bring him in on passing situations and just
Yeah.
that's where he spends all his energy on 20 snaps a game.
Yep.
And I think it could be effective, but yeah, the fact that like he's in their starting lineup and they're actually relying on him is kind of concerning to get to the
Mhm.
quarterback. Yeah. Okay, fantasy football go-tos?
Here again, a lot of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
He rushed, like I said, for over 800 yards. When your quarterback is rushing that much, you're going to get that Lamar Jackson production out of him, and he's a really good passer. So I think that's going to help the rest on that team. The running back situation's kind of not really sure there. You have McLaurin and Debo, but even McLaurin did really good. He still doesn't have huge numbers, so had to go with Daniels.
Yeah, I have Daniels as well, but like I told you, I pick a second guy. I did pick Samuel, Demo Samuel, like with the McLaurin stuff. I think he might get a lot of targets early in the season as McLaurin comes back into, football shape because I think he will be back. We'll see, but I just think and I don't think he'll be that expensive, Samuel. So as
Oh
far as
yeah,
draft
I was going to go
position,
get him way
right?
later.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think you could get him a little bit cheaper, and he might out kick his coverage, so to speak.
yeah.
So.
And they did use him as a runner in San Francisco. And that was when the article I was reading of talking about how they're going to move on from Robinson. It did mention that you could possibly see Debo get some carries in there, kind of having that little bit bigger guy to run the ball. So, you never know. He might have a little bit of production there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Okay, prediction. So last year, I already talked about last year. So the prediction over under, uh, it's 9.5 wins is what I found. So what say you, Jordan, for the
So
Commanders?
I would still take the over on that. I have them at 10-7. I think they went 12-5 last year, but they had a ton of super close games. They had the Hail Mary game. There was another game that was some fluky thing happened. I was trying to remember. Oh, even the last game of the season against the Eagles, Hurts had that concussion. They barely won that game. I think if Hurts is in there, they lose that. So I think this year they're not going to always win all those close games. So I took them down a little bit. And I mean, we've talked how great Daniels is, but if he does have that slump and they lose a few of those close games, that could put him down a little bit.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And I'm nervous about the pass rush. I have 10-7, so we totally agree on that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Cowboys then. Okay. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.